Hi, 8th grade. We are going to do our vocabulary review right now. Remember, we are talking about the civil rights movement. You have started a new novel titled The Freedom Riders, and it's important that we review and understand some key terms and vocabulary that we will see when we're reading, that we will hear as we're reading, and that we need to understand so that we can use it correctly and completely fully understand the text. So let me just go over our objective very quickly. Today, our language objective is we will review key vocabulary terms that we will see and use in our novel. By the end of the lesson, we will be able to orally state at least 5 vocabulary words, explain what the word means, recognize the word in our text, and use it correctly in a sentence. So while it seems that there are only 5 vocabulary words that I want you to know, there are many things you need to be able to do to fully understand. So you should be able to say and read the word, that is the orally state, explain what the word means. As you're reading your novel or listening to one of your teachers read it, or as it's playing the audio for it, you should be able to say, that's a vocabulary word. And you should be able to use it correctly in a sentence. Okay, this shows key understanding of our vocabulary words. That means that you have mastered and you understand and can interact with our vocabulary words. So let's get right into it right now. I am just going to do a brief review, go over some of your vocabulary words. Again, these are words that are important as we talk about the civil rights movement. So the first word is the word discrimination. Discrimination. Make sure you're saying it out loud, discrimination. And you're looking at the pictures to kind of show what that word might mean. So back in the time period, there would be signs, especially above water fountains, that would read whites only. So discrimination is letting one type of person or one type of group do something and not allow another person or group. So you can see here there is a check mark that it is okay, and then right here it is not okay. That is called discrimination. Okay, that is your first vocabulary word. The next word is harassment. Harassment. Okay, take a look at some of these pictures so that we can put together the meaning of the word harassment. In this first picture, it is harassment when someone tells you no and they keep trying to either get in your face, touch you, any of that. That is harassment. Yell at you. Take a look at this picture right here. Okay. This boy had a teddy bear, and this boy stole the teddy bear, but not only did he steal it, he's kicking it, completely destroying it, and now this boy is very upset. This is harassment. Okay? Coming down to here, this is harassment, okay? Pushing, shoving, harassment. Down here, whether it's blowing air, spitting, this is also harassment, okay? This girl is minding her own business reading, and this boy will not leave her alone. Any of these and some more are harassment. Jim Crow laws. Okay, we will talk about these a lot, especially reading your novel. In case you hear it and you need some background, Jim Crow laws did not allow African Americans and whites to do many things together, such as get married. Okay, such as go to school together, sit next to each other at school, okay? In the cafeteria, they were not allowed to sit next to each other. And they had separate water fountains and separate bathrooms. So these were called the Jim Crow laws. Now, during the civil rights movement, and a lot of brave people that stood up for the civil rights of having equality and to be able to do the same things, that's what we call civil rights. So the civil rights movement and our civil rights have to do when it comes to voting, marriage, housing, education, and employment. So these are our civil rights. And now, we all are allowed to vote. Different groups, different people can get married, okay? Everyone has the same opportunity when it comes to housing. Education is not separate. And employment, everyone has the right to apply and to work, okay? Violent, this boy, this big boy is an example of being violent. So pushing, shoving, kicking, yelling, punching, any of those things is what we call a violent act, okay? When it involves physical force, that is violent. Now, people can also be violent with their words, but in this case, and as we're talking about the civil rights movement and the freedom riders and that era, there was a lot of violent actions, okay? Things like pushing, shoving, kicking, things like that. Don't be like this boy. And then you have the opposite of violent, which is non-violent. So not pushing, not shoving, not kicking. If somebody is non-violent, they are usually peaceful, okay? They're not forceful with their actions. So the opposite of violent is non-violent, not doing any of these things. Then we have segregation. Segregation is a big vocabulary word and a big term when it comes to the civil rights movement. Back during that time, groups were segregated. This is called segregation. They were separate, okay? So African Americans had a water fountain, had a bathroom, had a classroom, a school, while the white had their own water fountain. They had their own school. They had their own table in the cafeteria. This is called segregation. And then after the civil rights movement and people fighting for the civil rights that we are all supposed to have, we're very lucky that integration, okay? So now there was the elimination of separate bathrooms, separate water fountains, separate housing, separate, so many things. So after segregation ended, that was when people had to be separate. We call that integration, okay? All of us can be together. All different people, all different colors, all different ethnicities, all different religions can integrate and sit at the same table and be together, okay? And we briefly talked about a sit-in. I'm gonna stop here for our vocabulary today because this was your first picture prompt. I will come back to it during the next vocabulary lesson, but here is a picture of a sit-in, okay? And I hope that all of you can take a look and tell me what you see, right? What questions you have, what inferences you can make, and then any history or facts that you have about sit-ins. So we are going to end here today with our vocabulary. Let me just go back and share my screen of what you should have been able to do now. We reviewed over 10 vocabulary words. Our goal was to at least be able to orally read 5 vocabulary words, explain what they mean, recognize our words when we're reading or listening to it in our text, and then use it correctly in a sentence. Okay, so go ahead and do these as you practice. See if you can use them correctly in a sentence and as you are explaining these words to someone. And that will be all for today, and I will see you all in class later as we again further explore the civil rights movement. I will see you later, 8th grade.